Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Sophie. Happy birthday to you.
To me.
To you.
To me.
To you.
I love my birthday.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't mind getting old.
Some people say otherwise.
Maybe people say, oh, because of your age, you're not too bothered at the moment, but no, I don't mind. Another year wiser.
And another birthday special right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, it is.
It's all about me.
And Sophie isn't going for a theme like I did this year.
You wouldn't let me if I went, right, Paul, my theme is going to be rom-coms. Before you'd be like, oh, they're all the same. We're not allowed to do that, don't we? Vary it up.
Don't make it sound like...
That's what you say. So I've gone diverse, I've gone eclectic, I've done...
What we'd normally...
What we should do.
So...
don't play by all my Paul's rule books and then Paul just decides to put a curveball in and do whatever the hell he wants.
So, I think in similar fashion, though, as this time, we're going to do it, start with a film that we've both seen, then go on to a film that I've not seen and you've seen, and then, finally, the one that neither of us have seen, which patrons have picked for us.
Well, I pick, and for the patrons to pick, for a change.
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to kick things off with Disney's Hercules.
You're not going to sing it?
Sing what?
Hercules.
Zero to hero.
Hercules. Was that the right thing? I should have known.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking I'm going to mess up then.
Why, what other?
I don't know. I thought there was something else I needed to say after the fact that you'd said.
No, not really. I was just ad-libbing.
I always wanted to be a vase lady.
One of the muses.
What they're called.
Yeah. Yeah. A Greek choir chorus, whatever.
I like the chubby one.
Black sassy.
Yeah, some inner vibe going on for me there.
I see.
Loved her.
So what drew you to picking this one out of others? Because there was a fair few of you kind of thinking, I wanted to some like classic animation.
Yeah, so I think with the genres I've picked, obviously there's a rom-com in there. Clearly there will be. I wanted an animation because I think that's my second favourite kind of genre. And then the Patreon pick is a bit of a wild card, I'd say.
Yep.
But it's something, there's two of them that I've been intrigued to see.
Yeah.
So with this one, I was like struggling. I wanted, we were going to consider Shrek, but then we were like, because I love Shrek. But then like, how much is there to talk about?
Other than going through like memes and stuff and just...
I don't even know all the memes, I just love Shrek. Like, so we were contemplating that one.
Yeah.
Maybe if we do Shrek, we might just have to watch all three, and then that would make it more worthwhile.
Well, there's 4, isn't there? And there's going to be Shrek 5.
What? There's 4?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's the 4th one.
You sure that's not the Christmas special?
No. There's a 4th one. Have you not seen that one?
No.
Where it's Rumpelstiltskin, I think, and he like says, "Oh, I wish." A bit like, I wish I didn't have like responsibilities of the family and stuff, and then so he gets his wish, and then like, oh, he's a complete unknown to everybody, and so he's again, it's a bit like
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Not like what Shani says, Fight Club's a Wonderful Life. That is, It's a Wonderful Life.
More or less, yeah.
Apart from George Bailey, don't wish to get rid of all his family.
I think I forget if he says I wish I'd have been born or not. I don't know, but
no, I've not seen that.
No. But there's and then they're doing a 5th one in. Is next year? Or
don't toy with me.
No, they are. I've told you this.
What was my other one as well that I was like was a high contender after this? Because we went through Pixar, didn't we? We went through Disney Plus, like on the channel, to see what was available. Can't remember.
I think it was Bug's Life.
It was.
But then again, I'm thinking that as well, like, what's, other than going on, again, sort of, well, maybe this is maybe a nostalgia trip, but, like, with that film, it's like, what to say with that?
I feel like with Bug's Life, I could tell you at, like, the back of my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Hercules, I know I really enjoyed when I was younger, but actually rewatching this,
Didn't remember as much.
No, did you?
Yeah, I remembered a lot of it. I don't know what this is like with, maybe it's just when you're younger and you kind of watching the same, because you've kind of limited to what you can watch in a sense, and you're just watching the same things over and over again. They kind of just stick with you more, as opposed to now where I've got so much option for films, and I sometimes, like, even now going like, oh, have I seen? There's like horror films and I'm going like, have I seen this before? And then stick on, yeah, I have, yeah, because it's kind of like a similar scenario. Or
Oh yeah, we're agreeing that horror films are similar scenarios. Is that what you're saying, Paul?
Yes,
we don't have to do Halloween next month.
That's not what I mean. Like the structure of.
No, that's what you're saying. So cool, right, guys. Halloween's cancelled for my birthday, so that's great. Paul's just agreed every horror film's the same. No. I've literally got it on the podcast, Paul.
No, so I'm more like modern same ones, and it's...
Don't backtrack now. So we're going with Hercules.
Yep.
I think there's several reasons from nostalgicness that I remember of Hercules, Vase ladies or whatever you want to call them, muses.
Mm-hmm.
Pegasus.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, I wanted a baby. I think I actually had a toy that was a flying Pegasus. I don't think it flew, but he was a Pegasus.
Was he the white and blue?
Yeah. I was obsessed with Meg.
Yeah,
I thought she was the most beautiful character.
I mean, yeah, I can agree with that. I think it's kind of like not like a semi crush on before, like maybe even Jessica Rabbit. I think because I didn't see that film too much later on. But again, it's kind of like, I think it's the voice and just, I said, the sort of hourglass figure in a way kind of thing.
And the sass, like the way she's walking, and like, it's the attitude and just everything about her.
I'm touching on that. The other notable thing I know her as a voice actor for is from Spirited Away. She's one of the other humans who's with Chihiro in the bathhouse.
All right.
She kind of helps her out, initially.
Yeah, the older adult.
Yeah. She's got the brown hair and so
I can't remember her voice.
Yeah. But she's with the same voice, essentially, in the English one, of course.
I think this is where I noticed, as an adult rewatching this, there were so many voices of like, oh, I know that voice. Yeah. Or even if I thought I knew that voice, I didn't know that voice. Yeah. But there was just so many well-known voice actors put into this.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got, obviously, the half-goat man.
Call me Phil. Or Philatides, yeah.
And obviously he's from Matilda.
Yeah, Danny DeVito, yeah.
You can just hear it in his voice straight away, and I feel like he is drawn like Donkey is for Shrek. Like, when you look at Donkey, you know that's Eddie Murphy, whereas, like, you can see Danny DeVito in him.
Yeah, he's pretty much drawn for that character.
Yeah.
Fits him perfectly, yeah.
And even, like, Mike's
Wazowski.
Yeah.
Mike Wazowski.
I don't know, like...
They're just almost, like, perfectly matched for the characters.
We've also got the two, I don't know what they're called. Like
imps, yeah, the Pain and Panic.
I can't even remember all this.
Yeah. I do say it in the... He says it Hades says it multiple times.
I haven't wrote them names down. Yeah. And the pink one.
Pain, yeah.
Oh, it makes sense now you said it. Pain as in, like, you'd bruise, so you'd go pink. Panic as in, like, you'd go blue in the face if something
I guess
bad happened.
I don't know why they're called that. I think it's just it's just a little side kick. So,
well, Pain is a guy from Scrooged, who's the one that goes shooting everybody.
Yeah, the neurotic guy. Yeah.
And straight away, I heard his voice, and I was like, "Oh, I know that voice."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, literally, and then you were like, "Yeah, you do." So I think rewatching it this time felt like a lot of value add for me. I don't know if it did for you, because, like you're saying, if you're remembering every beat. I don't know how often I watched this, but I remember it being really iconic for me as a child. But I don't think like between Bug's Life and Hercules, Bug's Life I had like an obsession, so I feel like I'd have gone like the same thing as you, where it wouldn't have, me rewatching Bug's Life, I would be able to know it like the back of my hand, whereas Hercules, it's like the certain bits where I did forget, like I don't think it was one of the ones where it was on repeat, but I just know I really enjoyed it when I did watch it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's weird because it's like, because I sort of know it so well, it kind of felt a bit, it wasn't like, oh, it's my favourite part coming up kind of thing, or in a way, because you would think that though, wouldn't you? Because obviously you've seen it so many times, or like there's like a certain thing, it's kind of just remembering, okay, here's that line or that thing. But again, maybe in this time for me, it was kind of more because I know it fairly well and it was a bigger screen and everything. Rather, I think it's probably the highest quality I've ever seen it. To be fair, will have been like paying more attention to maybe I say background characters, or like just sort of like way characters are drawn, facial expressions kind of thing,
like the movements.
Like, look at the line work essentially for this time.
I think watching it in this format and understanding that back in 1997, it would have been majority hand drawn.
There was a bit of 3D thrown in there.
Where was that from?
That was when he's young Hercules and he like knocks his pillars over. Better for the background, but you can't really tell. And definitely in when he's fighting the purple
at the end.
No, in the middle bit where he becomes, obviously he's like proving himself with the Hydra. Yeah, he's fighting that.
All the heads.
Yeah,
got you. I've noticed I don't know anything about Greek gods.
We kind of studied that a little bit in. It must have been English.
I know that obviously
it's not really historically accurate as such, but obviously there's Greek history, but comes obviously like tales.
It's like more like folklore.
In a sense, yeah. So from that, I had appreciation for that as well, even back then, because again, it's all monsters and things like that. Anything to do with that, and rather than just like the gods, what they did, and they tricking people and all that stuff. But if there's something involving something, you remember from when we covered Clash of the Titans, with the Medusa, and
I've always known Medusa as a cat, like as
for the snake,
for the snakes, and I don't really know why I know that. And then obviously there's Hercules, there's Hades, and then there's Zeus as well. Now, I always thought that Hades was the devil. Like, that's how, when I was little, I would associate him.
He's like the Greek version of the devil, I suppose.
Because he's the underground god.
The underworld, yeah.
And that used to absolutely petrify me. We know my kind of growing up with Christianity and such.
Yeah.
And I think that, thinking that there's a place underground where all the bad people go.
Yep.
Who wears red, obviously black in this instance.
Blue, yeah.
And
obviously there's hellfire as such when he gets angry, but yeah.
It's just, I think, quite daunting, like when you see him pulling up on the 3-headed dogs, or, like his atmosphere, like it is a villain.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think that's what Disney films back then had. They did have a really good villain. But
in this, he's kind of a comical villain as well. He's like wisecracking and everything.
I feel like for Disney's back then, they did definitely cater to adults. So like now me even rewatching it, there's probably loads of stuff that went over my head as a child that now I've reaped the reward from rewatching it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's fantastic about a Disney classic.
Yeah. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Because, they're getting... very much the line's getting blurred now, isn't it, with how far classics stretch to, because it's keep going and going with new stuff.
I think this one just looked visually beautiful though, like the colorization of everything, the way that they did that. It was just so stunning, like having the heavens be quite beautifully like pearly.
Yeah, and like Mount Olympus, like ethereal kind of thing.
But then even the way that they did, I know it sounds daft, like I was thinking, well, you've got your good god and his wife.
Zeus, yeah.
What's his wife called?
Hera.
Yeah. She's beautiful. She's all bright pink, but she's got glitter and she shimmers, and it's like, so I feel like, yes, it's hand drawn, but some animation or some effect is being applied over her to have that shimmer, and just like with Hercules glowing and...
Yeah, all the gods are like have a glow to them because to show them the differentiation between.
But I think it's a good idea of the way that they've done it and portrayed it. It's not over the top, but it's, they're not human.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, me thinking back then in 1997, how the hell have they actually done that?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was hand-drawn, and then they've put some form of technology or something to make them shimmer.
They had the technology.
I feel like I could show, if I had a child, this, and the quality we saw it in, I won't be ashamed to go, oh, this is what I grew up in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's nothing on there going, ooh, that looks a bit garish.
No.
Whereas now, if you go back to Shrek a minute, if you put that on, I mean, it's okay for what it was. That was 2001 animation. Obviously, 3D become more of a prominent thing. That would essentially, probably in some areas, look a bit ropey.
I don't know. I haven't seen it in a while. Someone won't let me watch it.
That's not true. I feel like I know that film like the back of my hand.
It's the best film.
But no, you're right. There's nothing on this. Again, I've just said this a million times. Like an advocate for having, I'm always of 2D over 3D, really, because when it's done well, produced well, drawn well, coloured well, all that stuff, and you throw in like effects, overlaying to make it sparkle, shine, whatever, to add that extra oomph to it without the need of 3D, then that wins for me every time, as opposed to 3D that's trying to look like it's, look at the dimensions we've got going on here and everything, and it looks really just awkward kind of thing sometimes. But
I think that's really profound in like Studio Ghibli stuff, where the earliest stuff being hand drawn is beautiful, and I think we tried to watch one of the ones that they released probably last year or a year ago.
It's a couple of years ago now.
And we just couldn't gel with it, could we?
In the Witch, it just didn't feel right. It felt like somebody else had almost made a fan video or something of it, or a movie of it based on things like, no, it just doesn't work the same way. It doesn't hit the same way. It doesn't. And
actually looking at this now, I'd have found an actual appreciation and fondness of yep, I can understand why I really do enjoy this, and realised it did remind me of a Studio Ghibli, the way that I think it's just a fine art of it. I think that's what I'm trying to refer to. There's so much detail in the drawings and the colorization. There's so much thought gone into all of that. So it's so visually pleasing.
Yeah.
But also the tunes on this, it's just banger after banger. I feel like Disney songs when I grew up were songs. Not saying Let It Go off whatever isn't a song. It is, but I just feel like they gave you more oomph and passion for things.
No, I get what you mean. They feel like there's more heart and soul poured into it, and it doesn't feel like it's just a case of we've got to shoehorn a song in somehow, just for the soundtrack or whatever, and it's just what does it even mean? It doesn't mean anything, really. All the songs I feel in this all have impactful meaning to them. The situations, they weren't just I just feel like singing for the sake of it, really.
Oh, here's another song, we've just had 5 minutes of a breather.
Yeah.
I think for me as well, in any Disney that you're going to laugh at me now. So I really I Can Go the Distance. I feel like that's one of those things where you're a young child, you're ambitious, you want to do everything, the world's your oyster, and then you get a little bit older and you're like, oh yeah, can't be arsed, Phil. Yeah. And it's kind of relatable now as an adult. When I was little, everything was exciting. I wanted to give my best to it, and now I'm like, I'll just give 50% and that'll be enough. Yeah. And it's relatable in every aspect of when you watch it. I feel like it still gives me that kind of goosebumps though when I listen to it and watch Hercules feeling that way. And I think that reminds me of, the standout song in the Goofy movie. That gives me the same vibes. The stand out.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, that one.
Right.
And then the Lizzie McGuire, Don't Pick on Me song.
Dreams Are Made Of.
And I know you probably think that's probably really, really bad comparisons, but I think they're just really impactful for a child at that time to go for your dreams, to do whatever you want, be whoever you are, And I think that's what Disney used to tell you. I don't know if they try.
I think they do in their own way. It just doesn't hit the same way. I think it's what you
and
mean.
even like Mulan, there's.
I mean, for me, sorry to go with mine is like mine will always be like The Lion King. I mean, there's only maybe a handful of songs in that, but I really love all the songs in that.
100%. Even though The Circle of Life does make sense. Yeah, you're gonna either have to read
but
something
no one's
or
technically singing that. That's just obviously like almost like a narration, like a voiceover singing that song. But I love that song because that even at the very beginning of that is like, oh, that gets me in the feels and the goosebumps, everything.
Speaking of The Lion King, somebody does make appearance in this film from The Lion King.
Yeah, it's a pelt, yeah. Which is like, I think it's just like, a funny gag. Again, that's with the jokes in this. Obviously, the fact of it having, when Hercules obviously proves himself by defeating the Hydra, and then everyone's, then becomes a big success, and then it's sort of like the commercialism, capitalism stuff that he has, like, from that. It's like, he's the next big thing, and everyone's like, getting in on, like, he's reveling in that and the merchandising and stuff.
Kind of like Taylor Swift, you mean, at the moment she's like the iconic pop star. So everybody wants to make Taylor Swift stuff because they know it's going to just fly off the shelves. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. Hercules is just like the best thing since sliced bread at the moment. Yeah. And he's the most popular, iconic person out there.
In Greece, yeah.
Yeah. And you still really, I don't know, I feel like you just root for Hercules because at the beginning he's really clumsy, he's not knowing where he belongs, and is...
That's why there's the song about it. Yeah. Because again, you kind of learn about his strength because he obviously at that point doesn't even know that he's a god or demigod, essentially, from that. So it makes sense, doesn't it?
Just thinking there were another 2 films we could have watched as well.
What are they then?
Pocahontas.
Mulan.
And The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I haven't seen that.
I know, what were we doing? Need to write these down for next year. Yeah. So, obviously the main, well, I'm surprised if anyone hasn't seen Hercules, probably somebody younger than might not have seen it. It would be something I would show my children if I had them and be happy to sit them down. I feel like it's a good moral within it. It's giving you a life lesson, telling you to have a dream but to be wary of others.
It's fair, yeah.
Which I think when you're younger, you're really naive. You trust everyone until...
Well, that's the thing. The fact that I didn't really realise that, but they're making it sound like Hercules, even when he's like, what seems like he's like obviously fully grown, he's like 18.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't look 18, bro.
Don't you think Meg's a lot older than him then? Because with that voice.
That's what I mean. It's like, when I see him when he's all buff and everything, I was expecting that maybe he's like his late 20s most.
Yeah. Are you jealous, Paul? Because when you were 18, you weren't that hench.
No. I know you got to maintain the lifestyle of that and go in the gym, pumping them irons and all that.
Get your protein in, as Ben would say. So I feel like Meg is like a little bit of an anti-hero in this.
Well, in that, do you think she's trying to be good, but then playing along with Hades' game?
Yeah, and I think in the end she is heroic herself.
Which you by sacrificing herself?
Yeah.
Which, thinking on that, how the deal went down for that point, it's like, make sure Meg doesn't get hurt at any point. That could literally mean you could just, I don't know, pick up a small rock or just punch her in the arm and go, ow, and then she's hurt.
Yeah, true.
And then the deal would be broken and he wouldn't get his powers, Hercules gets his powers back.
Possibly, but I think it...
But for more of a dramatic sense, it's got to have the... Oh, yeah.
Don't mean like in, like, hurt as in, like, completely physically hurt. I think it's more like, it's not just a little flick and then she's going to go, I've got a bruise. You know, she needs to have some form of damage to her.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like a decent punch on the arm.
She did. She got whacked by a massive pillar.
Yeah, fatally doing it. So that's obviously the extent of that. Obviously, for the story's sake, that's what it is. But if you would go bend the rules or like...
Oh, here's a little loophole.
Yeah, that's it. loophole. Then you could have done that. You know, play him at his own game there.
But they weren't being that smart, were they, Paul?
No, well, he wasn't.
And also, I don't think the devil would have really been able to agree to that straight away. He's not that stupid.
Well, he was, time's ticking for what you had to do, so...
It's true. So, basically, in the end, it all works out well. Obviously, Meg and Wonder Boy get together. Hercules becomes a god, but then wants to stay with Meg, and that makes it like a little bit of a rom-com. You've got a massive fight-off scene before then with massive...
Titans.
Coming into heaven. Is it still called heaven? In Greek
we'll just
mythology?
say Mount Olympus, they just say. I guess it's...
It's heaven, technically.
Yeah, that's it.
And then, does Hades die?
Well, it's assumed, isn't he? He just gets cast into his own river of death, should we say, with all the other souls that he's captured and everything, so there's a comeuppance on that.
Is Hades a god, though?
I think he was cast down. It's been like the thing with God and the devil, I think. It's just like a,
I was going to say, does that mean he couldn't die? Technically,
well,
if he's a
theoretically, because, I mean, who's going to be running the underworld?
Pain and fear, whatever you call them.
They take over.
Pinky and Perky.
But what do you think? It's not really clear thinking about it now. Like when Hercules is like, I want to stay down on Earth with Meg. Obviously, he doesn't get, the glow goes away from him. So does that mean that he doesn't have any super strength, or is he like, or is he like when he was prior to that? Do you think? As in,
I think he's got his strength.
Yeah, like when he was from when he was a baby and didn't drink the last drop of. Right. Okay.
That's how I interpreted it, because he still want a hero on Earth.
Yeah.
Even though a true hero is not the strength of his actions, but the strength of his heart. See, good moral. Have a good heart, and then you're a true hero.
But is it the case of like, oh, you sort of like sacrifice your life to essentially get into the good place rather than the bad place? You automatically go there, do you think?
Oh, 100%. I feel like the fact that Meg can be floated up and she's not dead. Why couldn't they have done that with Hercules a lot sooner? Like, oh, here's a cloud son, come see us whenever you want. But you have to prove yourself. Whereas, like, what, will you float me on a cloud in 2 seconds when you needed me?
Semantics.
I do feel sorry for Meg, like, the fact that she did sell her soul to the devil, but it was for love. Like, she thought her boyfriend was, I don't know, going to die. Yeah. She was wanting to save him, and then he went off with the next floozy.
So I'm not 100% up on mythology of that, like what story that's from, if that's something that's kind of lifted from something else in scripture or something like that. But it sounds like it's probably like not so much a fable, but a story that has occurred, and they've kind of adapted from that to fit into the narrative of why she's with Hades, like tied to him essentially, because she can't get free with that.
Yeah, I do feel for her, because she doesn't deserve it, really, and she just wants to kind of get on with her life and not have Hades being a pain in the bum. And even you can see like the true kind of girl doubt, like, I really like Hercules, but I don't want to get my heart broken again. I'm not going down that route. And we have that little song,
which I guess is, some girls could probably relate to that as well. They're like, oh, keep getting, why the guy's so rubbish, like, burnt so many times.
Why are they so rubbish? Anything else to value to add to this? I feel like we've spoken quite a bit actually on it. I did say we were going to take an hour just to talk about Hercules. One
thing I did think on when we was fighting the Hydra and all the heads keep coming out, I'm thinking that body, it's, all the heads are coming from are not going to be stable. That's going to just topple over.
Gravity is going to come in there.
Things are, they must,
I will say what you always say to me. It's a Disney film, Paul. Don't think too much into it.
I know, but I can't.
Camera.
Can't help. I think on that, because like it's the practicality of it. Like it's like having, like a big muscular body, but like having really stick thin legs. The body weight will just not support it, will it? But
well, I do wonder somehow like how pigeons actually are on their legs, to be fair, with like little twigs, and then they've got like the round bodies.
Because the bone structure's quite light.
Yeah, but when you look at it, if you didn't know that, you'd be like, well, that's a bit strange. That these...
Well, I thought you were going to say when pigeons have got like stub legs, they haven't actually got any like talons, with the ones that are kind of, how are they walking around?
I'm picking on it.
Other thing, in a meme sense.
There's a meme?
Yeah, before it was even a meme, when Ed is like having a rager about, I can't believe this guy, like, I've got thrown everything at him. And Payne's walking around with his squeaky shoes.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, what are those? Like the meme, what are those?
Yeah.
It's like the early...
Yeah, it's true.
The meme of that.
To be fair, the humour in this is just great, and I think it's just so adult pleasing at the same time as children. Like, you've got the colorization for children to be like immersed in like, this is amazing, but then you've got the humour and the jokes, and for your adults.
I would say, as a kid, would you find it scary? But I guess you kind of answered that a little
100%.
bit.
The devil, but I always thought the devil was scary. The underground or the underworld or whatever just daunted me when I was little. The thought of me going there, so that's why I'm such a flipping goody two shoes. It's being instilled to always be good. Which is annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, but you stuck by that, and I think it's fairly wrong, is it, really?
Push over.
Well, I think you're coming to your own a little bit more now than you. Again, it's more of as when you're younger, you kind of think that's the case, but then you're realising probably.
I think you just grow up and don't care anymore.
No, that's it. I think that's
it's an age thing.
So, how has this aged then?
Really well. Yeah.
Better than you think?
100%. I really enjoyed it. It felt like I was watching it again for like the first time, but with like my adult vision on. I don't feel like I've ever if I have watched it, it's been on like telly, and it's not been like a sat and watch it all the way through to the beginning and end. I think when I was little, I used to have it on like VHS, and I would like record back and forth.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
From it.
Yeah.
And I think the same with like, well, my Disney classics were like Really Weird Child was Beauty and the Beast. So that's more like your cliche, I would say.
Yeah.
Then Mulan, then Pocahontas, then The Hunchback of Notre Dame. They were like, and Sleeping Beauty, but that's not Disney, is it? Is it?
Yeah, it's like early Disney.
Is it? Yeah. So then.
Yeah, there's not like
not many with animals in.
That's not like the Renaissance era, which is what like. By that I mean like the style of animation that was like what Beauty and the Beast sort of. I think it was maybe the Kickstarter of that. I think.
Oh, okay.
I would say. I think. Could be wrong, but yeah.
Swan Lake, I was getting confused with. That's what it was.
That's not Disney. No.
That's not Disney. No. You ruined that one for me. When you go back and you really get disappointed with something because you remember. Well, now see,
that was when we were putting on, and it's like that was a song every like 2 minutes, and it's
I don't remember it being that bad. I just remember the frog being really funny when I was a child. I just put it on, and I was like, I'm so disappointed. Whereas Hercules just didn't disappoint.
Good, glad. Went for that then. Really, there's a watch then. But no, I did enjoy it as a nostalgic piece. Certainly, and not in a like some of the stuff we may have already covered.
Pokemon film, yeah.
That's its own thing, though. But
that was a bit risky. That wasn't it? A bit low blow, but it's my birthday, so I can say whatever I want, right? The older you get, you don't have a filter.
So, what would you score?
I go first.
Yep.
How come? I think it's just because we both watch it. We've both seen it. This is why it's thrown me off.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, well, I've seen the film, Paul. Why do I have to go first? I think it's going to be a really, really solid 9.5. I don't know what's not making it a 10.
Right.
I just don't know what it is. I think it's just I'm comparing it to what I class as a 10. But the humour, the singing, the nostalgia, the colours, everything that I've already said makes it that. And I think having an appreciation of how much has gone into it with the drawing, with the singing, with the voiceovers. I think it's just looking at it instead of as a story, I was able to like kind of appreciate what effort had been put into it. Whereas as a child, I think you just take it as what it is and want a little baby Pegasus.
That's a lot higher than I thought.
The next one, I'm not sure if it will be as high. If I'm honest. We'll see. It might sit different this time.
So, see, they're going to what your trick here. Guys, it's tricky.
I don't say that.
You do.
I don't know what you're on
You
about.
say that a lot more than you think.
It's tricky.
Because there's the nostalgia bit for me.
So that's a point, yeah.
I think the songs are good, but they're not as...
I can go the distance.
They don't hit the same for me as they probably did for you.
That's a minus point. Yeah.
Animation still looks great. I can't fault that.
Agreed.
And it's a spin on the Greek mythology. There's just sort of little bits here and there about, really.
Is that a point?
Well, yes. Yeah. So...
Humour?
It's humour, yeah. Hades, played by James Woods,
and Phil.
Yeah. They're both comical in their own way, and it's the way they deliver lines. I think they're just really well suited to the characters. So that's good for, when they seem to care more about picking actors for playing voiceovers as opposed to just getting Chris Pratt doing Mario, Garfield, and whoever else. They just want he's popular. Yeah, it's the voice acting just not there anymore for that, and it's lazy.
Star power instead.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm going to go 8.
Yeah, I'll take it.
8. I'll go 8.
I'm running with it, and I'm final answer. No call a friend. That's it.
No, I was thinking it was 7.5, and then I'm thinking of other stuff that I think nostalgia kind of tips it over just a little bit more.
You can go the distance. Yep.
Really. So and yeah, just replaying it. Replaying it, going through the film, going, I know this so well, but I don't know what would really bump it up as such. Maybe I think it's just okay. So if there's other films that may not have seen as much of, and yet there's something about them that feels like there's that extra spark with it that just I'm thinking of when I think of 10 films.
I'm sorry, there's no blood in it, is there? Or
no.
Murder or horror?
No. I'm telling in animation. I'm talking about.
Sorry, there's no shining doors opening.
I'm thinking of Wolfwalkers.
Okay, fair point.
Up, where that's
I still feel like Wolfwalkers is stronger than Up. I don't know. I think I'm going on visuals. Wolfwalker is more beautiful.
Up is more the emotional journey.
Yeah.
With that one.
Wolfwalkers gets you though, because
there is a bit.
It's all to do with family, isn't it?
Well, yeah. So no tear-jerking moments in this. So.
You sure you didn't want to cry when Meg was about to die?
No.
I don't think really old school Disney's had crying moments.
About Dumbo?
Bambi, but not in the same way as what I mean as Up does.
Yeah. Not purposely going.
No.
Yeah. That. Yeah. Well, that was a good start.
Thank you.
Yeah. And good pick for a rewatch.
Thank you. I thank you. I will keep going as we continue. Hopefully it'll be a really good birthday special.
Here's hoping. So now on to the film I've not seen and Sophie has seen.
Yep, excited to talk about it.
And for what it was pretty enjoyable.
I feel like if that's not a backhanded compliment, I don't know what is.
When I say that, it's because for me, my own prior knowledge, obviously I knew of the film existing, but in terms of context of anything, really, the only thing I had to go on beforehand was I'm talking years and years ago, probably when the film was out, 2004. And I've just shown my age, the fact that when I used to how I listened to music was on the radio station here in the UK. It was called Galaxy FM or something.
What's now Capital.
Capital Radio. And obviously they had adverts in between. And so they would sometimes have adverts for like films that are out in the cinema or whatever. And so that's my distinct memory of this film, hearing a snippet of, like, you know how obviously they have to do it in a way to describe it through audio rather than visuals, like on TV.
Actors and actresses, or was it just?
Yeah. It
was like a clip from the film.
There's a 7-year-old girl, and suddenly she was 30, and the music and starting in cinemas coming, whatever, that kind of.
I don't really vaguely remember films being advertised on radio, but maybe I just didn't pay attention. But yeah.
Well, I think they still do, but we don't really listen to radio that much now.
No, sadly not.
No. But yeah, so that's my little anecdote of the film. So
I'm guessing the advertisement didn't make you want to go see it since you've only just started watching it with me.
Yeah.
Are you going to rewatch it, Paul? Would you watch it again?
I wouldn't be opposed to, like, I wouldn't say, I never want to see it again. So that's something. It's not like that was amazing.
What did you think of the acting? Did you think Jennifer Garner did a good performance?
I don't know if she did.
I think she did.
In like a fish out of water scenario that it is.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm thinking of, like, when watching this, I think of like last year where it was like Enchanted.
I was thinking it is quite samey in a little bit.
What is this like?
Not as annoying as Enchanted.
No, it isn't. But see, I didn't know with how the story was gonna go. Whether in my head, obviously, this is what I was on about with only knowing that snippet from hearing it on the radio. As to, I assumed that everyone else was normal.
So everyone else was 13 and she was just 30 years old?
Yeah, like, I'm thinking like the equivalent of Tom Hanks in Big, where he's the same kid but he's bigger, but everyone else is like, his friends is the same age, he's meeting people, but that he hasn't skipped ahead in time, whereas this film does that. So everything she knows from when she was in 1987, when the film's set, and when she's 13, she's jumped ahead 17 years. So it's actually 2004, same year as this film came out. So all the technology and stuff is a bit, what's that? What's making that noise? Kind of thing with herself. She didn't know what a cell phone is and all that kind of stuff.
Compared to not knowing what a shower is.
Where you're thinking, come on, you must know what a shower is.
Yeah. What about Mark Ruffalo as Matty?
I'm guessing before he had the major success with being Hulk in Marvel series.
He was in a rom-com.
He was in a lot of rom-coms.
He's in Just Like Heaven as well, which we haven't covered yet.
And I feel like some other ones as well. He must
100%.
have been, but he must have been like, I can see where the appeal, because he's kind of that soft-spoken anyway, but he's not like, I wouldn't say ruggedly handsome or anything like that, but he has that kind of like, he's just that chill guy kind of thing, but he's not a sleaze, or he's not like a super nerdy looking or anything. He kind of just is a
normal guy,
handsome-ish guy, I guess.
He's just normal, and I think that's what works. I think it normalizes these kind of rom-com things. I also have a bit of a thing where I want to I've never had backlash from being like told off with like the snippets you do, but we did have a bit of on my Alien one. I think I stirred the pot a bit too much, and we did have a comment that did say about rom-coms being the same. Now I agree. I'm not saying people are wrong. They are the same. It's boy meets girl. Oh, there's some upheaval. Oh, actually, we all end up living happily ever together. However, first of all, a rom-com makes me personally a lot happier to watch than Alien.
Yeah.
I'm not like, crying into my tissues for the fact that somebody's died. Whereas in a rom-com, you can feel those emotions if you get attached and they do it well.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes me come back to a rom-com more than like an action film or an alien film. Because time after time you build, like, I really was for Mark Ruffalo's character in this, like Matty, like he was like the lovable guy. And then you do want him to get back together in the end, and she's learned her lessons. I think there's morals as well within a rom-com, like in a romance movie. There just is, like, there's always a lesson.
Yeah, but they're generally always the same kind of ones, I think, is what I mean, this is my fiance, we're getting married in a week or something, and like, oh my god, like, oh no, but I love you kind of thing, and then it's realised at the end, like, oh, and it was, I loved you all along kind of thing, and I think it's that kind of thing that's kind of, can be repetitive, and it's like, oh, here we go again type of thing. But
it can be, but I think that you've got more scope of how to do it different compared to just shooting a load of aliens on a spaceship, is what I'm going to try and say. We're going to put that to bed now.
Yeah.
But I just think this is one of the things with it being my birthday special. Mm-hmm. This is what I quite have grown up with, and I think this is where it's different.
Yeah. How long has it been since you've seen this film then? Because
I feel like we weren't together.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've watched it several times, but it's more just been when it...
You mean you and your sister and your mum watched it? You mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've watched it about, this might be my fourth time, possibly, watching it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those where, now you found this insulting, where I think it's actually a good thing. It's like, it's a comfort watch for me, so it's like, I can put this in the background and be happy to do other things, and you were a little bit like, what? And I'm like, yeah, but because I enjoy the film, I know what's going to happen, even though some of it I'd forgotten, because it has been a long time.
Yeah.
But it's nice just to have something in the background, and this is where I'm going to go then, with like, I can rewatch Gilmore Girls happily all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're just really fond of the characters and their life, that it's part of your life in a sense, so it's kind of like your family.
Yeah, I guess people get attached to other shows like other sitcoms and things like that, and it's just something like there's old really old sitcoms I've grown up with watching with mum and dad because they've showed me and stuff like that, so there's that connection.
Do you know what I thought you were going to say? I'm so sorry.
Go on.
So you could be like, yep, I've grown up with The Simpsons. That's what I thought you were going to say to me.
Well, I mean, I have, but
so I was like nodding along, and then you didn't say it, and I was like, oh.
No, I'm going even further back than that.
Because that would be like what I would class your equivalent to. Like my Gilmore Girls, like watching that on repeat would be like your Simpsons.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the music in this, Paul? Because I feel like there is some good songs.
Yeah, I can't deny that. There's one in particular, obviously, I do like Michael Jackson's music, and Thriller gets played, and there's a little dance sequence that occurs. And
it's played twice.
Yeah, partially once at the beginning, and then the main one where they're doing because they've got to get the party started, and it's like, oh, well, throw this on, this jam on.
Exactly.
And it was, for me, as an older head, because I don't think I would have even twigged on if I was seeing it maybe like when you were like teeny bop. It sounded initially like, this is how sad it is, like, oh, what's the mix that he's playing, because it sounds like it was like the actual one that's on the album version. Like, it starts, it didn't just go straight into the do. It's like the build up.
Oh yeah.
And then I thought, are they going to play the whole song? But then I'm thinking, wait, that's not how the song's edited. He's edited that up somehow, because it's like, that's not how the song goes. But
didn't even notice.
But I know, because I know the song.
But I do think, for me, this is one of the scenes where you're on about with the dance. That's something I remember from this, like, from the get-go.
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you said 13 going on 30, that would be like the first scene that would pop into my head, where she's pretty much woke up in her 30-year-old body, because she wants to be 30, flirty and thriving. I don't know if I am, to be fair. And she wants to skip being a teen because...
So it's not fair, everything. Yeah, which again is what we all think when we're little, don't we? Like,
we're such brats when we're in that stage. Yeah. Like, we are, like, the whole world revolves around us, and it's like, actually, it really doesn't. What are you actually contributing to the world? Like, nothing. But everything is like, one thing goes wrong, the whole sky's falling down, isn't it? When you're a teen.
Mm-hmm. And so, the reason that she gets a wish of this, because Matty makes her this, like, Jenna dream house, because she couldn't afford a proper Barbie dream house or whatever.
It's just so sweet.
It's sweet. I'll give you that. And then he sprinkles this wishing dust, and that's like the
I love how you did quotations, even though we're not being recorded.
No.
Wishing dust.
We have been recorded.
Well, filmed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's just a loose thing of it. It's not, but anyway, yeah.
Well, you need to know how it works, how she gets a wish and
Mm.
like in Freaky Friday, it's the fortune cookie, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, and they're holding the thing or something, and it's something like that, and it's like, oh, the lightning. So I can't exactly remember, but it's something like that, isn't it? It's just the trope of like, oh, you say it, put it out into the universe, and then it happens.
100%. Like, I really do think like the universe does listen, and if you manifest it enough times, it will happen.
So if I say, I wish for £1 million,
keep wishing,
and it'll just fall into my lap.
Maybe need to do some work to get there, like. But
well, that's not what you're telling me there. From based on that, you just keep persistently saying it, and then it happens.
You can manifest it and action it.
Right, but how would you manifest an action for being a 30-year-old then, without it just being magic? Oh, just wait 17 years and you'll be 30.
Some things can happen like that way, but other things, I think, Paul, you need to work hard, because the universe aren't just going to give you everything on a plate, because why would they just do that for you? Why are you so damn special?
Why is she so damn
special? Because it's a film, it's fictional.
And the fact that when we're starting this, obviously we're 1987, and there's this girl clique, which is very much reminding me of like the Plastics from Mean Girls.
Why is it always a blonde one that is an absolute cowbag? To be fair, when I were at school, I had a blonde girl that I didn't like. I won't say names, I don't need to. But yeah, it's always the blonde ones. What's the motto with them? I thought blondes had more fun.
Blondes are more bitchy.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I said the joke, like the way she had that, like, I guess it's what you call a band in her hair.
Side pony.
So, yeah, looked like Tammy from Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, and when you said, "Oh, she looks like that girl from Bob's Burgers," I was like, "Oh yeah, that's Tammy." I actually didn't realise when I watched this the first time that
that girl.
Yeah, can't remember her name.
She was called Tom. So
Tom,
like a
yeah.
nickname, but then I think she was called Lucy.
That she was actually her work colleague. Like, I never really twigged on that when the first couple of times I've watched it.
Ah, right, okay.
Like, actually,
they've actually become friends, even though they're enemies in school and whatever. But for when Lucy is older, who's played by Judy Greer, who I actually pick up a book here, because I thought I've got something on the shelf that's kind of relating to that, because I've got this. I haven't actually read it; it's been sat on the shelf for a while. But this book, I think it's a self-written, published book, but it's called "I Don't Know What You Know Me From," because invariably she's almost like the co-star of a lot of films. You're like, oh, I know you from somewhere.
And so she's never the lead lady?
Yeah, exactly. She's always like the side character. She never like the naming lights, like the first person on the page kind of thing. She's always playing bit characters, and she's happy to be kind of like that way.
I did wonder why you'd brought a book and you were like, oh, it's relevant.
So that book is like going through her like thing. It probably mentions probably 30 and going on 30 in there, really, because that's. But for me, she's the stronger character in the film. But again, she's meant to come across that way because she's manipulative by the end of it anyway, even though she's like...
Yeah, but how hard is it to play a mean character?
Well, it's always more fun to play.
Well, yeah, and I think for like Jenna's character, I feel like it is a bit of a harder role because you're having to play completely naive. Whereas acting a bitch is not hard, is it? Everyone has an inner bitch.
I guess so, yeah.
Just being able to be mean and get away with it. But to be fair, everything I see her in, even though I can't name another movie that she's in at the moment, she's normally good.
Yeah, she normally is, yeah.
I can't believe...
And her voice as well is very recognisable as well. It's like...
But I think so is...
Jennifer Garner?
Yeah. I always remember her voice.
Well, we did see her in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie
But I think I struggle to think of what else I'd seen her in. Like, I thought she was more like a leading lady in other things, but actually, when I've looked, she has done other films, but just nothing I've actually really seen. I think this is the most prominent one I'm aware of, where she's the main lead in something I really did enjoy when I was younger.
Yeah, because when she did her own film with Elektra, she was obviously the lead in that, but it didn't go so well with the box office and such. So, and I know she was in Juno, which we've done a review of back in the day. So the mother who was wanting the surrogate.
yeah, she was.
So in a way, sometimes I see her more as a side like a co-star, really.
Right.
Because I don't know if she really got the big star power for me. I don't think she's quite got that, really. I'm throwing shade there, but I just...
Yeah,
But anyway, she's got this... You didn't realise she's the editor-in-chief. So that's Andy Serkis, who's is Smeagol or
Gollum
mocap, and amongst other things. But she's part of the big leading team designer of this magazine, Poise, that I guess she wanted to be when she was younger, or like a head of a big time magazine editor. Yeah.
You can tell like the lines are what you would say when you're like 13 years old. I wonder if like we look back at ourselves when we're like from 13 years, if we'd think we've made it now. Like, would a 13-year-old self be proud? Like if they just rushed and was like, oh, okay, Paul, you've missed 17 years. Here you are with a big beard.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hindsight. It's fun to think about, isn't it? But
well, I feel like for this character, she's really disappointed with actually how she's happy with like a big time job and her success and like she's pretty and everything like that. But I think morally, she feels like everything she's done is wrong. Like she doesn't really think she's a nice person.
Because as the film goes on, she kind of learns that she's very like snotty with how people, she is with people. Getting memos like almost like death threats, like from people, like how dare you say that about me, kind of thing. Is like your magazine sucks and that kind of thing. And it's like, oh right, I didn't realise because she assumed, because she doesn't really know, because she's kind of trying remembering or getting used to the fact that she's now in her 30s, whereas she's no recollection of what's occurred prior that in that time. So it's interesting in that sense of the way to have it work. So she's kind of learned, oh, maybe I do need to change my ways and think about my life and all that kind of stuff. Is slightly different, and even the fact of is kind of a good gag. I'll give it this, where there's, oh look, when they're in the bar and it's like, oh look, there's some guy checking you out. I was like, no way! Like, I go over to speak to him, and then she actually walks past this 30-year-old guy and speaks to this kid, because obviously it's still the fact that, oh yeah, she's still a 13-year-old in the place. But then thinking, why is this kid just sat at a table in a...
I feel like his parents had gone to the toilet and he's just sat waiting for him, and then she's flirting with him, asking for the ketchup. But then I think that's a similar scene where we get the girl in the elevator, where it's in the same apartment. Like, she used to not talk to her, and now she's getting her over with her friends, having sleepovers and everything.
So that would probably definitely gone down differently if it was a guy approaching a young girl at a table. Wouldn't it? If it was this...
Yeah, it would. But then I feel like there's a fine blurred line.
Next scene, he would be thrown in jail.
He probably would have been, but then if he's in his 50s and she's in his 20s, no one blinks then, do they? It's only like when you're a minor that's when people are like, oh, it's wrong. But then when he's 20 years old and he's got a 20...
Yeah, I get what you mean, yeah.
Then he's like a stud muffin, isn't he? So it's like, just when they're legal, then it's acceptable to have him at whatever age. Get me started. I think what's cute about this is, obviously, Matty is like her best friend. And obviously when you're like that age and you're so young, it's hard to kind of think, oh, well, Matty could be something else. Even though from this, Matty always has loved Jenna, from the get-go.
And then, like, the fact that it's kind of that, oh, it's kind of sweet, that the fact that he did, even after she, like, destroyed the dream house, then he still kept it at his house all this whole time, like, as if like he's clinging on to the past of this thing and thinking hopefully one day we can reconcile with her or something like that. I don't know, thinking like it's not exactly something like a small trinket or something. It's like this big massive thing
taking up some covered space. But he's also moved on as well. He's got
he's big photography.
Yeah, and he's got a fiance called Wendy, and he's kind of a bit like, I don't know, like when you meet somebody that you haven't seen in a while and they used to mean a lot to you, and then Jenna just appears out of nowhere and he's a bit like, oh, nope, go home kind of thing. I don't want to deal with you. You you can see that kind of shock, and it's like, like when you see somebody in a supermarket and from school or whatever, and
it's a bit awkward, you mean?
Yeah, or you go down the other aisle to avoid
I
them.
do. Yeah.
Because you don't want to see him.
Yeah.
It's that kind of vibe, isn't it, initially?
In a way, yeah.
Because I think he kind of feels like she's bringing him to gloat. Because, like, when she's like, oh, I've got a limo coming, and I've got this, and I'm doing that, and he's like, right, okay, I'm glad everything worked out so well for you, Jenna. Yeah. Like, you're just bringing me to gloat how amazing life is.
Well, I noticed as well a lot of the time he's walking away, and the amount of times that, I don't know how many times that did happen, but
Maddie,
it's like, yeah, what kind of thing, and then like happens again, like it's like, okay, right, okay, just let him walk away. Stop bugging me.
Paul.
Come.
So you wouldn't like it if I every 2 minutes went, Polly? I feel like she does resemble me a little bit of 13 going on 30. Like, I'm still a child.
You mean you're childish, you mean? No, you're not a child, I'd hope.
Oof. Have you heard this? This is my birthday special. You can't be sassy and say, no, I am a child, Paul. I'm not turning over 30 this year.
Yeah, well, yeah, you do have your little cute little quirks.
You love my childlikeness. Otherwise, your life would be boring. I bring fun to your life.
You do, yeah. Because it'll be a miserable sod, I guess.
You would.
So I do embrace time to time.
Heartache to heartache. No? I just when you felt like you were going to burst into song.
No, it was not going to happen, no. So the takeaways from this, I guess, is obviously like you said about, they normally have good messages in these kind of films, really. There's the line Jenna goes back to her mum and dad's. She's like, to find comfort and solace in them. And she's just like, Mum, do you ever regret anything in your life? So would you change anything? It's like, no, I honestly wouldn't. I've made mistakes, sure, but don't regret making them, because how would you learn from them, basically? And that's a takeaway from it, really.
Yeah, and I think that's everything with life. Like, even if you're scared of doing something that's out of your ordinary, out of your comfort zone, if you don't push yourself towards that, and if you fail, then how are you going to, like, eventually achieve it? Like, if you don't try. And I think there's that kind of, well, you realise you've done wrong. Unless you fail or do something wrong, you're never going to learn. Like, if you're just doing everything perfect, you're just going to do everything the same way.
Exactly, yeah.
You're never going to grow. Is there any regrets you have, Paul? Marrying me?
No. It is one of those things, isn't it? You go through life and you're thinking, I wish I could change that, and then such and such that wouldn't happen, but then you don't know how that would change a lot of things. Maybe it's easy to think about, say you could do those things, but then there's the whole thing, things happen for a reason type of thing, and then eventually something comes along and for the better. Yeah.
I always feel like the universe gives you, like, closes the door and opens a new one, or it has, everything happens for a reason. It just does.
And so ultimately from all this, that she goes back, I think, she has the dream house that Matty gave her, and then the wind blows the magic dust of the wishing dust back onto her, I guess, and then time reverts back. So I was like, right, yes, you've learned your lesson, really. So now we're going to put things right, and you can make the right calls by kissing Matty, who you initially weren't going to kiss, and then it's like realise, we're meant to be together type of thing, and
she rips up the six
chicks
homework report, and
calls her a bitch.
Yeah, and the guy that she fancied, that she wanted to have the 7 minutes in heaven with, we do see him when he's 30.
And he's like some cab driver or something. Yeah, very lay about, kind of like, you didn't do so well.
Which I like, because it's like, well, actually, okay, Matty was a little bit chubby when he was, he had puppy weight when he was a teen, and everyone picked on him and he wasn't the most attractive in school, but now actually compared to...
Yeah, so I think that's almost like an accurate description of how people are in high school. You peak in high school if you're like super popular, and then you end up with doing a crappy menial job in your later life or something, or you just don't get very far because you have no ambitions and such. You're thinking just life's going to give you
everything's going to be made up because you're just pretty.
Yeah.
it's not the case. So luckily, all of that being said, we then see like it ending with Matty and Jenna's wedding instead of Matt with Wendy, and showing that actually she's gone back in time and had a blip and been able to see. And
we assume that everything else has stayed the same. She's still the magazine. We don't see any of that, I don't think, or anything to, unless there's obviously maybe people at the wedding, perhaps, but the members of staff, I think, perhaps. Can't really recall, but it's just at that point, it's like, oh yeah,
it was really quick flash. It wasn't like you saw a lot of the wedding.
And then moved into essentially the dream house, because it was like the pink and everything.
It's cute, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's alright.
Yeah. Also, really like the fact that this is heavily based around photography, and then I did a photography degree without really knowing like anything linking with this. I guess I don't know, some form of
maybe you were inspired. Then you're like, oh, I want to do photography. Looks like a cool job.
It does. If you like people.
Helps, doesn't it?
It does help. Especially as well as you have to take pictures of pretty people. It's annoying because they're just so annoying of pretty people.
So did the film hold up in your eyes after watching it as in your 30s?
It did actually, and I think it made me enjoy it more. I got more from it this time. Like obviously, not realising that Lucy was a baddie at the beginning, and then she became best friends with her, and
ultimately a baddie at the end.
Putting all the jigsaw together a little bit better than when I watched it when I was a bit younger. I think the music in this holds up really strong. It's not a disappointment where I watched it like this one Princess, which I used to love when I was little, and then watched it as an adult. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, some things just don't hold up like they do. You think they do.
And to be fair, it's one of those where I think it is just, it is predictable. I'm not even going to say it's not. Like, I'm aware of it, but I enjoy that it's going to take me down that predictable path. Like, that's what I expect from this film to do for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't say that it didn't do that. You know what you're getting with a kind of film like this. Obviously, it's just not the element of it being, because it's, as I've said, the fish out of water scenario with it, rather than just being some other everyday scenario of, I've moved to the big city and I got a new job and everything. Oh, that guy's cute, kind of thing, or anything like that. And then there's that kind of like is very stale and stagnant. Whereas at least this has a different quirk to it that's an edge, I suppose.
It's got nostalgia to it with her like wanting to go back to being like 13. It makes you think when you're 13, all you want to do is grow up. You want your own house, you want your own space, you want your own independence. Once you've got it, you're like, you want to go back to your mum and dad's.
Yeah. Simpler times.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, actually, this isn't all it's cracked up to be.
So, I think we'll go to giving a score now, right?
Yeah, you go first, because you haven't seen it. Paulie. Don't work as well. Wish you had a Y on the end of your name.
Don't need to have a Y on my name. You can just... Sure, you do that anyway.
But it just doesn't sound as good like when she's trying to say Matty. That's what I was trying to do, but it didn't work.
I think I'm just going to go 6.
That's okay. I feel like that's reasonable. That's quite generous.
Yeah, for me, that's not a super amazing, but I can't really, at the same time, in a way, like, go, I really hated what this had to offer, like some films we've covered do. So,
some birthday specials I've hated, Sophie. Is that what that's saying?
No. I'm just other films, or just I'm thinking of like The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy.
I didn't make you watch that.
We did.
Not for a birthday special.
No, I'm not talking about birthday specials. I'm just talking about other films that we may have covered and stuff like that. So yeah, enjoyable for what it was. Really,
I'm taking it. I'm running with it.
Yeah. That's all I've got to say, really.
It's not an insult. Yeah. Like, you didn't seem like, oh god, this is cringe.
No. Yeah, I wasn't going, oh my, eye roll, except for you've got to have that little musical stings where it's like, oh, this is funny, laugh here, because the way that they always do that in these kind of films. Though that's the bit that's cringy, and then maybe when that guy she was with doing the striptease, and
that was awful. But then
the ice babe, that was things like that. But
it didn't last for too long, and I think her reaction worked well because she was feeling cringe too,
because of her age as well. Yeah, so it wasn't put on so much for the like an actual grown woman going, oh, this is repulse, because
please don't get any ideas, because
no.
I would be absolutely, especially with them boxers and whiteys.
Tidy whiteys. So
I'm not far off you.
All right.
I think I'm going to give it a 7. So it's middle ground. I would go watch it again. I have done. I think it's more like a comfort watch from when I've been younger. It's one of those where you know where it's going, but you're happy to follow the path anyways. It makes you actually reflect a little bit on your life and go, am I happy with my 30-year-old self? Would my 13-year-old be happy to see where I've grown? And then is there any regrets, like you say, that I've had that I should change and reflect on and do better, in my life? Like, I feel like that's what always I love about a rom-com. Yeah, okay, Jenna and Matty are going to get together. You're aware that that's going to happen, but you're all for it and you want it to. And then it all works out in the end. And I think it's just, there's some comedy, there's some kind of like ambition. I feel like they always have to have like they're down on the luck on the job, so they're just going to have to work really hard. And I think it just gives you some good morals to have. And I do enjoy it. I would watch it again and again.
That's what I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it again. So
there's nothing to say that I hate it. There isn't. Like, I can't say I hate it, but I can't say I'm absolutely 10 worthy.
Yeah.
But it's not the worst film I've ever seen, and I would watch it again, as I have. And I'd recommend it to certain people, especially if they love a rom-com. If you've never seen a rom-com in your life, don't watch it.
Don't watch it
if you haven't seen a rom-com and you don't like them, then there's no point in anybody going out of the way to watch it.
Now on to the final movie we're going to be talking about, which was the Patreon pick. And thank you everybody for helping vote.
Oh my goodness.
Even though it was very tricky to get to a deciding vote, but
I feel like that's been the hardest one to get people to pick for, and I didn't think I was making it that challenging.
No, obviously a lot of people had varied opinions, and it kept it in the balance of like, no, one's clearly not overtaking the other here.
Like, this was literally like Little Women won by 1 point.
Yeah, like a single vote, yeah.
One single vote tipped it over.
Makes a difference, yeah.
And to be fair, I was more for the Crawdads, like...
Where the Crawdads sing, yeah.
Yeah, I was more wanting that, and you were wanting Little Women. To say it's my birthday special, Really, we could have gone with a Sophie picks because no one else can decide.
Well, that would have been the case had it seriously not think, because like, okay, fine, it's clearly not meant to be. It's like that's the universe saying, right,
but
you
even
want
us were torn. Like, you wanted Little Women, I wanted the Crawdads.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah. We were like, if we were both in agreement of which one we wanted, then I feel like it'd have made it easier to pick. But because even us were split, it was hard. But I'm grateful. I'm really, really grateful. I really enjoyed this film so much.
I thought you might anyway, because I know it's something you wanted to see for a long time anyway.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I said to you before, you probably enjoy it anyway because we've covered this director's work before with way back in the day with Lady Bird.
She uses the same actress in it as well.
Yeah, and a more recent film being the director's done, which was Barbie. So, and you're like, oh,
I'm gonna like this. Has she done any other films?
Oh yeah, you mean has she directed any other?
Yeah, because I feel like I would actually go after her as a director
like a favourite director, if you were to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would go out of my way to see what other work she did. I feel like I don't know even where to start with this film, because I feel like we don't have enough time to cover it in this birthday special. I feel like this should have been just one on its own.
I know. Yeah, it's weird that's it's come about that way, isn't it? But
luckily, I'm hoping with the other two that I've picked, with Hercules and with 13 going on 30, we've been brief-ish. That this can kind of give it a little bit more space, or it's just going to be a really long session.
I think it's going to be the latter, because those ones won't go as quick as you might think. looking back on the recording. So
I feel like we can't even do a full deep dive into this. Like, we're just gonna have to be like, we can't go beat for beat.
No, we can't. No.
All I'm gonna say is I'm very passionate about this film. I really enjoyed it. It made me have loads of different emotions throughout. Yes, it's empowering because of the timepiece it is in, and then having 5 outstanding women in this. Can we just name, no, maybe 6. Can we just name, like, how many amazing actresses and actors were in here? Obviously, my first appeal was Emma Watson because I love Hermione. I loved her in, like, Beauty and the Beast. I've always wanted to see her.
We've seen Perks of Being a Wallflower as well.
Yeah.
So
anything she does, I normally want to see just because it's interesting for me, because I really do like her and I've grown up with seeing her acting.
Yeah.
It's the same with, like, Daniel Radcliffe as well, especially Women in Black, seeing a complete different style.
After the fact of him, yeah.
So we've got as main lead who is Jo, who is from Lady Bird.
Yes. Saoirse Ronan and Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She is. Obviously, Hermione, or Emma Watson, is Meg. She's the older sister in this. And then Jo is the second oldest. You've then got Amy, who we've seen in...
You've seen her in... I'm trying to think of films that you've seen Florence Pugh in. And it was like, Don't Worry, Darling, which is... It's not a particularly
with Harry
great...
Styles in?
Yeah. Not particularly great film overall, but
I was quite intrigued by that though, and she did do a good performance.
She's very good in, like, a lot of... Oh, sorry, no, Oppenheimer, of course. Yeah, she was the love interest of Oppenheimer for, like, at the beginning.
Was she?
Yeah.
To be fair, Oppenheimer was far too long that I've not remembered a lot of it.
And but yeah, no, in generally she's a fantastic actress, and she's just as good in this as well. Like the way. We'll get into that, but yeah, she's just fantastic anyway.
You've got Beth, who is the youngest, which I don't really know if I've seen her in anything else.
No, I can't say that I have either, to be honest. So she might somewhat be the weak link in the chain in a way,
I think
because
it works well because of how wholesome that character is. Yeah. She doesn't need. Yeah,
she's a quite reserved character anyway, so
big name. She doesn't need it.
I'm sure she probably is, but
I think also then the mother is from one of your favourite films.
Yeah. Jurassic Park. That is that's Laura Dern, who's she's...
I don't think I've seen her in anything else, so that's what's really weird. Like, the only things I've seen her in is Jurassic Park, and then you're going to laugh at me because it's one of Taylor Swift's songs, where Haim is in it and she's the mother of Haim. And then this.
She does a lot of, like, dramas, films.
I haven't seen her in anything else.
She's a really good actress as well.
She is. Yeah. Really good. Yeah. Like, she plays the mother in this, like, effortlessly. I feel like the acting in this is so high level. And we've also forgot about Aunt Marge, who we haven't even spoke about.
Meryl Streep.
Yeah. So, like, 6 amazing women. So to say, with the timepiece it's going for, with, like...
The Civil War. So, I mean, obviously, like, costume period of that as well, within this as well, is like was spot on, really, like, with it almost feels that, like, very much like a period piece in a way. How
it does, but just like in high def. Like, the period piece is like in 4K or something and remastered. Like, it feels like they've done really well at making everything look correctly right for that time.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of work gone into that. 100%. I'm sure.
Like, the people who've researched it into the fashion, the design.
Yeah, the team behind it,
Yeah. Like, I straight away looked at it and thought it reminded me of Scrooge. Not Scrooged, but like Ebenezer Scrooge. Like, that kind of era, like that vibe of like, women should be, like they say, all women are there for is to marry a rich man, and
that's all. Yeah,
that's it. Like, that's all we have. There's no, like, monetary places where we can benefit from working. But yet you've got these 4 really strong, impactful young daughters that are really, really intelligent. Like, Meg wants to be an actress. Jo, she's really headstrong. She wants to be a writer, like the next Shakespeare.
Basically, yeah.
You've got Beth, who is musical, so she plays the piano. Mm-hmm. You've got Amy, who wants to be an artist and a painter. And it's like, so they are very intellectual, intelligent girls.
With ambitions, yeah, they will want to make the stamp in the world. I
would say that they are middle class.
Yeah, got that big house and everything, and they seem to be doing well for it. Yeah, I think they're having to, with the war going on itself, to sort of make cutbacks, which most notably, obviously, a lot of the scenes take place around the Christmas period, which I didn't even know really that the film had such a thing, but it's kind of like good timing as well. I know it's not anywhere near Christmas just yet, but we're creeping into those months now.
It just felt warm. It was cozy, wonderful.
Cool. And so for them, be like, oh well, girls, there's a family who are much more in need of food and warmth. Would you mind like taking the food over to them and celebrate? Share a Christmas breakfast with them, and that kind of like they're so kind and caring for doing that. Sort of like, and they'd be like, oh well, we haven't got presents this year, kind of thing. So they're kind of not poor, but they're getting
struggling
back in at the same time, but in a different sense compared to these other people who are practically living in poverty.
Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, they're like ramshackle hut.
And I think it's realizing what you have got and like how lucky you are. Like you're not as bad as what offers somebody else is.
Yeah.
And even like when they have presents, it's like, well, they we don't have presents this year. And like Hermione's character, Meg, says, oh, I wish I could marry a rich man and then we could all have like...
Not have to worry about.
Yeah, and we could just be rich and buy whatever we want. Mm-hmm. And they still do the plays for like the neighbours and kids come along, and they really are just such a giving family to say that there is only 5 women now. The dad's gone to war, which, he's...
We see later on, he's Better Call Saul.
And... I don't know, it's nice to see him in something different, I guess. But he's not there for long. He's
more at the back end, yeah.
I don't think he's massively impactful, though. Like,
well, he is to them, though. Because,
he is to them, but to the actual viewer, you don't really need him. They need him, but we don't. If that makes sense. Like, we still want to go know what happens to our 4 ladies.
Yeah, of course. Which they all seem to have in a way, a shared link with the... we'll just call him love interest, I suppose, of Theodore Lawrence, or
Willy Wonka,
played by Timothée Chalamet. He's prolific in what he's doing. He comes across as like very charming, and,
very charismatic. Yeah. He reminds me of Matty Healy though from 1975. Like, I literally when I look at him, I'm like, it's not a bad thing, but that's just where my head goes. Which was weird looking at the timepiece, thinking, oh, Matty Healy.
It's the 18th century. Matt Healy.
Yeah.
He's not doing like drugs and.
Oh no, he's just flirting with every woman he sees, and he's drinking. Don't get me wrong. There's a scene where he's
but I mean
drunk.
like a necking, constantly. Kind of. He's not. Yeah, he never comes across that way. He's kind of just. He's very much. He attaches himself, I feel like, to whoever he feels like. Like lovelorn, really, in a way, isn't he? Because he's very persistent on like, oh no, I love you. Like, do you really kind of?
I think he definitely loves Jo. Like, I see that, like, the way that he is around her, and they're really good friends, and I think he generally always thought he was going to be with her, like, no matter what. And I think he's just kind of infatuated with the family in general. He just wants to be part of that family.
They are, like, literally across the way, and so they're practically neighbours, but just very far away. But so he's always, like, observing, like, what's going on. Like, he saw them taking their breakfast over to the other family, and so then he was like, he saw that you even got anything, so we brought you this feast of food because he did such a good gesture, kind of thing. Like,
yeah, rewarding them. Yeah. And I think he misses, like, it doesn't seem to be that he has any other female lead in his life.
They're all like passed on and everything like
that.
And
I don't know where his father is or anything really, because I think that is it like his granddad really that he's living with. So I feel like this is more like people similar his age, female influences. Mm-hmm. He seems to learn a lot from all 4, even the mum. Like, he has a connection with
all of them. Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
So I feel like the most romantic one is with him and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you've got Meg, who she knows he's got a thing for Joe. And I think, she dances with him at that, like, is it like a cotillion or something, like where all the women go, where like you can pick your man out.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, what would Joe think? But there's nothing really, I never feel like Meg would go there because she knows Joe too well.
Yeah.
And she respects her sister, and I think Joe and Meg are quite close together, like as sisters.
Yeah. Whereas Joe and Amy seem to quarrel a lot. Really, there's like an instance where Amy's being a bit brattish and like, I want to go to the theatre, and it's like, no, you can't come, and so I'll get paid back by burning your novel. I think that's a bit harsh.
Childlike, though, isn't it?
Like,
if you think about it, how old is she at that point?
Yeah. And just the mannerisms of how she, like how I was saying before, like how she's good at actually, like Florence Pugh portraying that kind of like the way she says things, the way she acts at that, and then when we have these cuts, because I already mentioned that, have we? Like how it flips back into with that, and then you see her as her older, more mature self, and you can totally tell the difference. So she's playing a good role in how she's essentially playing a younger version of herself, and then the slightly older version of herself, and the mannerisms of how.
I think she's got it a bit easier there as well, because I feel like there is a bit of a difference of maturity, whereas I think like Meg and Joe, they've grown a little bit, but it's not as a massive jump of like being in early teens to like early 20s, where you do a lot of growth.
Yeah.
But no, she does a brilliant job. Like, she does play Bratty really well. I don't know if we haven't had a chance to do like a lot of research into this film, but I feel like there must be like, from when she's like a child versus like her like adult self, there does look like a bit of a time has passed between them. Like I was saying to you, that it looks like they filmed it when she was a bit younger and then held that bit. And I was like, oh, is it the lighting? And then you did point out like, well, actually, when it's nostalgic, it's warmer.
Yeah, there's like the orange and yellow colours going on, whereas it's almost like the cold reality of things with how it is when it's like it's called the present day for them, and it's all like blues and greys. Not like saying it's all completely sad and dreary, but it's just like, oh yeah, when you look back at things fondly, like, oh, you're kind of happier times, then the colours are going to reflect that, aren't they? With how you perceive things, like, oh, wasn't this all great and like
feeling warmer,
fun, and cozy and everything like that. So it does that really well, and you're not going through. I don't know if you were going like, oh, where are we now, kind of thing.
No, that was the weird thing, because I thought something like that would really throw me off, and I was even saying to you, I don't understand how it's not really. I'm keeping up. I'm doing all right. And I think it was only towards the back end it struggled a little bit, because it was like when we saw like Jo go to New York, I thought she'd left the family, and actually it was like, oh no, this is what she did prior. But I think it was because it was becoming more like
centered around the fact of like what occurred more recently.
Yeah, and it wasn't like it was actually like the colorization was needed, because it wasn't too far in the past.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I was like, oh, which one's happening now? And even to the way that it's ended, I'm still a little bit questioning, is the actual colorization the book that she writes in the end?
Oh, because it's red bound book, you mean?
Yeah.
So to sort of reflect that, or just.
And is it that,
okay.
because she wasn't with the guy in the end. She said she didn't marry anybody. But in the book, she had to make sure she was either going to die or have to marry somebody. That's what the guy said.
Yeah.
And then I was a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, or if it's actually she decided at the end to write the book about her lives, because it was about Little Women.
Yeah. Which I don't know how far this varies from other versions of the film, because I know there is a fair few iterations of it, so I don't know if they follow the same formula or there's slight tweaks. I'm thinking probably more maybe certain dialogue perhaps, or how the characters are acting and all that stuff probably tweaked ever so slightly for a modern audience, perhaps to make certainly obviously visuals, keeping it interesting with that.
It was beautifully filmed as well. I think it had that wonderful feeling. Like, obviously, yes, it was set around Christmas. It did feel cozy, but I don't know, just everywhere that it was done, it was like the lighting, the camera angle, the view of the girls, like even when Joe's dancing with Teddy or Laurie or whatever you want to call him around well, not balcony, but the bit on the porch.
Yeah.
Even that, like done, like Harry going around in a circle around the porch, and the lighting, and then the people inside as well. And we're just thinking everything's just been really thought through with how it's been put together. It made me cry. There was parts in it that I didn't expect. Like
I couldn't predict that either, because I kind of going into this pretty blind as well. Really, just knowing that it's a very popular film, and I don't know if it's just because of the star power that it's got in it, for one thing, but maybe it's just because, again, it's like such an emotional, powerful story, I think, and just take you through those emotions. I didn't cry, but I was feeling like, oh no, worried because that you were crying, and so I had to hold your hand and everything. It's going to be okay.
I think it reminds me a little bit of like Tiny Tim, because Beth sadly gets poorly, and
scarlet fever. Yeah,
it's sad because obviously she's doing a good thing going over to the neighbours that aren't as wealthy, and one of them, like really really young children, like a baby, passes away because of scarlet fever, and she's going bringing food, and I think that's how she catches it. And it's sad to think that that's the case, because she was just doing something kind out of her own heart.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like all of them do say like she's the best one out of us all. Like she's quiet and shy, but she's the best one. Like, and sadly she passes, and I think you kind of want at this point where Tiny Tim comes along and like it's
God
like
bless us, everyone.
And Scrooge like has to go back into the past and fix it, and then he's fine.
Yeah, but sorry, there's no time travel in this film, sadly.
And obviously, like realistically, at that time, like people did die a lot younger.
The life expectancy was very short in those periods.
But then it was just upsetting that she was the youngest.
Yeah,
like other people had outgrown her and had their age already.
Yeah,
and she was only a baby, and she
practically, yeah. What I did think was going to actually get me? It's when almost like the very back end where I forget his name now, but the guy that Joe meets in the New York like apartment where she's lodging, the one who's like criticizing her work,
the Italian one.
Yeah, the Italian, and he comes over to the family house, and it's like, oh, that's a beautiful piano, like instrument. Who plays on it? It's like, oh, nobody anymore. It used to be my sister's, and so, oh, do you mind if I play? I was like, yeah, she'd be really happy that it's being used. And then starts, obviously, piano music, and I always think it can generally be quite, even if it sounds happy, it can be quite sad and melancholy. Yeah. And I thought, oh, that's going to get me, because it's like because how music can sometimes do that. But I think you did well with that as well.
I think I did, yeah.
I nearly did, I think. And it's like, because that's like, because like, it's probably been so quiet. Obviously, with them girls talking and everything like that, it's probably not that quiet. But
I think that's been missed in the house.
Yeah.
I think that, this might sound stupid, we've recently had, I know it sounds daft and people think, oh, it's only a dog, but I feel like it is, like we have lost a family member. And I feel like that kind of felt the same for me. And I know you people are thinking how preposterous you could comparing a dog to a person, but it's still the same thing as the house feels a little bit emptier. You're not having to do the same things. Like, you're not hearing the piano playing throughout the day because she's not there. Like, you're not having to open the door several times because he needs to go to the toilet. It's just silly little habits and stuff that you get used to them being around. Yeah. And then they're no longer there, and you can't explain it. Just that you've got this emptiness. And I think that's portrayed really well in this film. Like, it's like that part with Tiny Tim where his little crutch is against the chair at the fireplace, and it's that same feeling that it takes me to.
I can see where you come from, yeah.
I don't know, for every little woman there is, I just root for them. The only one who I dislike the most is Amy, but she does a good job of it. I think because she's a middle child. she's bratty, she's spoiled, she gets everything her own way.
Yeah. She gets to go to Paris, and instead of Joe, who's more like, oh, I wanted to go, and she's like, oh, I'm happy for you, kind of, with a bit of a grimace.
I feel like Joe actually sacrifices a lot for Amy without Amy realising, and I think Amy is quite selfish and not realising when she does something for Joe, like burning her papers, like why she despises her.
She says he always feels like second best in running to Joe, but like the fact that Theodore is then like, oh, don't marry that guy, marry me, basically. And Amy's like, no, I'm not, can't do this kind of thing. And then she does go ahead and.
I feel like as a sister that should have been a no-go. Like, she knew that Theodore meant a lot to Joe, and even if Joe hadn't been ready, I couldn't marry him. Like, if I were Amy, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Like, even if I'd have loved him from a young age, like, I think she generally did. But to know that he loves my sister more than me, like, I'm just second best. I just couldn't.
Yeah, that's what she thought, but then she quickly turned around on that, but then the same thing that Joe also did the same thing. She's thinking, was I wrong to turn him down?
Yeah.
And the mum was like, no, that's not. You shouldn't just almost like marry someone for the sake of it. Really,
but
it's not like true love.
Generally did love him. Like, I feel like Joe was more suited. Like, they were always together. They were best of friends. They were inseparable. I feel like they would have worked if she'd have not been so headstrong. And at the end, I really don't know if she did live happily ever after. Because you just see, like, obviously she's got the school open. You don't see the guy the Italian man, in the school teaching, because he was a scholar. So
no, he was there.
Was he?
Yeah, he was like when she was doing the walk through the gardens.
Yeah, but it wasn't like he was at the table with the family. Like, it was
You mean at the school?
You know, when they walked with the cake out and then they all linked.
Oh, right, I see. Right.
Not like part of the family. It didn't feel like. Well,
maybe he was. I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if it was my mum's birthday, you'd be part of that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I suppose so.
That's how I saw it. So it was like, oh well, he's there, but it's not serious yet.
I don't think Theo was walking
along with him,
so
we know they're married.
Because they got a kid and everything.
But then it's like, well, yeah, you did see the baby there, so like that kind of.
So you could think either way. It's like, oh, was it happy ending, or was it she just with her careers more? Yeah, more. I don't know, but so I don't know if that is a reflection of the films or the writings or what. I don't know, but
it's interesting. It's
very interesting.
I feel like within this, you see a lot of turmoil for the family. Like, you've got Meg, who she just wants to get married and settle down and have her own family, but then she does find somebody who she generally loves, but he's not the richest man of the world, and he can't provide like another man that she would have picked but not loved. Like, it's that kind of fine balance of showing you can struggle and get through life together with somebody you love, or have everything but not have someone you love.
Yeah, she was more like, oh, I can't afford things, and he feels very like he's you feel like he can't provide, and so I'm sorry that I can't give you these nice things that you always wanted. And so she almost feels sad in the fact of like she thinks that everything's falling apart around him.
But then he's there when she needs him. Like when her dad falls poorly, he's like driving his mum back and forth. He's then staying with her because like Beth is unwell, and he's looking after all the kids, and he's doing all of that because he generally loves her and wants to help her.
And the day-to-day stuff, and that's important, and she's almost like she hasn't got all the riches and everything in the world that she might have wanted, but that's more important, and she still wants to stay with him, and as long as she has him, her support, loving husband, then that's all that matters, really.
100%. And I think then for Amy, it's been putting pressure by Aunt Marge to like, oh, well, you're the one who needs to save the family now, marry a rich man, provide the wealth.
Yeah, all these old sensibilities that have sort of been distilled throughout the centuries and all generations, and so it's now, but, you know, it's becoming more of a commonplace that women should go out into the world and find their own paths, really.
Well, I think this is quite the funny scene where we see like Teddy or Laurie with his granddad, and there's somebody else in the room, I can't remember, And the girls come in and initially like, oh, look at the piano, look at these books. And there's all this chitter-chatter. Like the room is just filled with noise.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the mum's like, come on, girls, right, leave the gentlemen alone now, walk them out. And the room just goes silent. And I'm like, oh, that's just a brilliant scene to show how...
Men don't talk to one another. It's like, well, I'll see you later.
Yeah, and what life a woman brings into, like, a room, like, without us realising.
No, I admit that is pretty much the case, really.
And even then, like, with Joe, bless her, like, saying, I'm just sick and tired of having to be, like, a woman that has to, I just need to marry into something to, like, make a success of myself. Like, why can't I just be successful or be happy doing whatever I want? Like, there's, like you did say, like, her little speech that she does.
Yeah, it's, on reflection, after seeing Barbie, that's like the prelude to what is emphasised much more and much more strongly, and like makes you stop and listen in Barbie, basically. Yeah,
the bit that makes me cry in Barbie, which is right, and I think it kind of shows like a woman has to always have a crap together. You can't have a mental breakdown and go, oh well, I'm sick of doing this, I'm sick of doing that. And I think for this one to Barbie, it shows like a long way that we've come, like even like in that what this timepiece sets, like how far a woman has developed and grown. Like, it's outstanding. Like, yes, don't get me wrong, there's lots of things we can do to make it better for women and more like equal pay and stuff like that. But in comparison, instead of just looking pretty in a room, now hey, we can work, we can vote, we can do pretty much near enough what a man can do. And sometimes even better.
You can bring life into this world, and that's something a man can never do.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, exactly.
As much as you'd want.
To be fair, I think a man would not be able to cope with the pain.
No.
I just feel like you're more delicate creatures than you actually pretend you are. A woman can handle a lot more pain than a man.
That's proven by childbirth.
That's why God decided, if there is a God, that women should do it and not men. Apart from seahorses. Maybe it doesn't hurt in underwater. I don't know.
I don't think they go, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever.
To be fair, it just looks like he's sneezing him out. It looks fine. I want to know who your favourite character is.
Favourite character? Honestly, I think for the reasons I said about how much obviously she kind of changes from younger self to a much mature self, which I think would be Amy.
Really? She's my least favourite.
I think she's got some of the, especially when she's younger, I'm thinking of like when this is something about where she says, I'll put my foot in plaster so you can see how pretty my foot is, and then she gets her foot stuck in the bucket, and these kind of silly little things that she does, and everyone's having a good laugh about it, and all those kind of humorous scenes. And I think it's more just how her performance is like shifts in such a way, and it's very you can clearly see like the maturity and growth of her from when she was the annoying younger sibling, or a younger sibling, to how she is when she's not.
I think I really do like Joe's character just for the headstrong kind of independent woman vibe.
Yeah.
But then I do like Meg, like wanting to settle down and wanting like to and have true love. Like having that back then was like a hard choice. You're either going to marry for riches and have an easy life, but just not really like the person you married. Because like we did say, it's like a business agreement for a woman back then. It was like what can you offer me? And then I really do enjoy Beth's character. Even though she doesn't have a lot to say, I feel like she's a massive loss to the family and a massive presence when she's there. Like, and I feel like that's really impactful. Like, you don't have to be like, for example, you always talking like I do, but it doesn't mean you don't make a big difference. Like, if you were no longer here, it still would feel silent like that, even though that sounds weird when you are silent.
Majority of the time, fairly silent,
but just your presence alone is...
Yes. Yeah.
And I just think the whole dynamic works really well.
I don't know if you can relate as well with this because obviously having your mum and your sister growing up for anyway, when obviously your dad moved out and everything.
And I can kind of see certain characters of like the four
like
sisters.
The bickering and maybe a little bit.
Between me and my sister. So I think like Sarah would be a little bit like Jo. And I would have probably become across like Amy to Sarah. Doesn't mean I was an Amy.
No.
Because I didn't get everything I wanted.
Yeah.
I think she just thinks that she paved it easier for me.
Paved the way, yeah.
I feel like that's the case with every second sibling. Like, the older one does do all the hard work. Like, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to the same school you do. So at least I know you there. That's not my fault. Like, I was born 2 years later.
Yeah.
And I think then the Beth kind of character, I think, even though I'm quite outspoken, I think when I'm more around my family, I am a little bit more quieter. Like, Sarah does do a lot more of the talking that I can actually take a step back.
I don't know if that was the case when you were younger, maybe more, so I don't know.
100%. Like, I could never get a word in.
I don't know if that would reflect now, though.
I think so.
Because I know Sarah can yabba on. But
Yeah. I used to be more like the Beth character, being quite quiet and reserved. I wouldn't really, unless I was quite close with my mum, though, so I would talk to her quite a bit. She's getting ear bashing. Yeah. Overall, I think just the whole dynamic of the film is brilliant. It was 2 hours, but it didn't feel long.
2 hours and 15, I think.
Really?
Something like that, yeah.
I would watch it again for the whole 2 hours and 15. I don't feel like there's anything like my normal saying where you could cut something out or chop it out. I feel like everything had its part and its reason. Yeah.
It did go by quite quickly, I thought, as well. It wasn't like this is dragging.
I already knew I was emotionally invested.
Yeah, I know you would be, yeah.
And once I kind of got to know my characters, like, I think we were only in like half an hour, and I was like, Paul, what are you thinking? You're like, yeah, I'm still just trying to get into the
I was trying to gauge like how it was initially, but it did grow on me. Didn't know like what sort of direction it was, because I like going in almost blind pretty much to everything, like how it was all going to play out. But certainly the use of lighting and things to convey what happened in the past, them growing up and everything, to what's happening to them in their future, essentially. All that kind of stuff.
It like had a softer, warmer glow to the past.
Yeah.
And the future, you could tell it was more crystal clear. It was more naturalized, like white balanced colour instead of warm wintry tones.
I'm pretty sure this doesn't have like a 4K version, but this is just a Blu-ray. But I feel like some of these like period piece films like this essentially really benefit when it's obviously you've got that sort of like natural lighting and just the open spaces and all that kind of stuff. I think it would certainly benefit from that, especially like with like the snowy outdoors and the coziness of everything would.
I don't feel like there's anything I could say a bad thing about it. Yeah, okay, maybe Amy marrying Laurie or Teddy or Theodore or whatever his name is. That was a bit of a spanner in the works, but I understand how Jo would feel. And it made you feel like those feelings for Jo and going through them. And even then, like when Jo has possibly the Italian guy coming into her life, you can see like Theodore being a bit like, well, who's he? Like,
yeah.
There's that kind of protective brother-in-law vibe, but at the same time, there's still I'm just used to her not having anybody.
Yeah. And now he's got potentially a suitor, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like his back's up a little bit like, no, you said you didn't want to marry. You shouldn't be allowed to marry anybody. So, how do you do scoring? Is there anything else we want to say? Oh, there is one thing I want to say. I think for Jo, I feel like she's the one who always wants to fix everything in the family. Like, she's the second oldest, and if something goes wrong, she wants to provide for the family, like writing her work and getting £20 to help, like her mum. Dollars. To get on the train to go see her father when he's poorly. When Beth's around, she's always there. She even cut her hair to get money to like get medicine for Beth.
She's like the stand-in mother, basically.
Yeah. Even though Meg is actually the first oldest, Jo steps up every time, and I think she gets annoyed with Amy being bratty because it's like, well, I'm having to bust my ass off for this family, and you don't even appreciate what I'm doing. Like, I've cut my hair just so that my sister could have medicine, and I come in and you're like, why did you do that? Like, I would never do that. And it's like, well, yeah, that's where we're two different people.
Well, that's the thing with the daughters. They all have their own different goals, essentially, for life. Obviously, like, what they aspire to be, and may not worked out perfectly for everybody in the grand scheme of things, but it's okay to aspire to have different goals. It's, like Joe feeling like selfish that Meg's like, going away and all that kind of stuff. And
but to be fair, Joe gets the house, which then she is able to, because she's the one that teaches, like Beth teaches Amy.
Yeah, and being a stand-in again,
Yeah, and then it's like, well, actually, if I'm teaching everybody else, I want to be able to teach Meg's girl and boy. And
because again, it's like, women, the girls don't really have like a proper school to
but
for
Amy
education
did
and
go
stuff.
to one,
Yeah,
until she got hit.
Yeah,
so I feel like she was the one who got the most given to her, the most opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'd dabbled with like Meg and Joe and did an all right job with them. That then the third one came along. I think it was more like Meg and Joe raising Amy a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's a fantastic piece.
And so with that, then I think we'll go to scores, and we've got a strong feeling. I know what yours might be.
Am I going first?
Yes.
I didn't think I was going to love it as much as I did.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit disappointed that it wasn't going to be Where the Crawdads Sing. But now I'm like, it'd be interesting to see when we actually get around to that film how it compares. Especially with the poll being so tight with like lots of different people. Because I feel like I don't think Where the Crawdads Sings is going to give me what this film gave me. It might. It probably would make me sad because she does get penalised, I think, and like...
Yeah. Again, I don't really know what...
From the trailer, it looks like she's like... lives in a wilderness and she's like... goes into, I don't know, real life and people pick on her. So I think that would probably make me sad. But would it be as relatable as Little Women? Probably not, because I'm not... I'm in civilization.
Yeah.
I loved every character, even like when Amy was bratty, like I could understand why she was at that age, and I could relate to every stage of the Little Women when they were growing up and being really close to your siblings and then drifting apart and then getting closer again.
Yeah.
Like I think Joe and Amy's like relationship reminded me of my sisters when we were teens.
Yeah.
And then kind of what Joe and Meg had was like what me and my sister have now. Just everything about it, I think it's just it's a 10. It's beautifully done. It's Christmas themed with really, really strong independent women. Greta Gerwig's like direction of this film is just amazing. I think knowing that she's done Barbie and knowing that she's done this, I think anything that she touches at the moment, I'd really, really appreciate and enjoy. Makes me want to go out and watch more
See
of
what else, from
what she's directed.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just can't say a bad thing about the film. It made me happy, it made me sad. It gave me loads of emotions, but all the good ones. It was long, but everything was valuable.
And I think it's lessons that you can take through and are relatable for almost any generation, not just 18th century that this was set in. So, yeah. For me, I going to put it at 9.5.
Okay, I'll take that. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. And here we're going to be careful here. Yeah. I'm not sure what would pip it to a 10. That might change on a future watch, but as of maybe it's not quite the sense of like the emotional stance that you have with the film for maybe obviously like for sisters and mum growing up kind of thing, attachment partially for you. But I can certainly appreciate all the work that's gone into the film, and obviously all the cast characters are outstanding, really, and just I there is something like a good period drama done right, and how they've done the balance with it back and forth between the two, the past and the present kind of thing, and that's very obvious, and it all kind of interlinks together very well. It's not like I don't know what's going on, like where are we now kind of thing. It's not it's not confusing.
It's not, it really isn't, and that is a big thing for me to say. Sometimes like flitting back and forth, I'm like, oh, I'm lost, I can't. But it was weird because I did say to you that I didn't struggle with it, and then you pointed out actually they've done something really clever.
Mm-hmm. And it's obviously I'm not a woman, but I'm more and more as I've seen more of films like this where it's like it's like female empowerment films or just of women who are just like badass characters, I guess, in films on like even like films like Kill Bill, where like in reflection of like how they come across and how they just there's appreciation for that and an understanding of like it is tough for a woman. I completely understand how it is, as opposed to just being blindsided. Men are the most dominant species kind of thing, and there's little I only like action films, all kind of thing. I'm not for that. Anything that's has deeper meaning is for me is always more appreciated, really, and for what this offers, it really comes across very strong. And I would never say it was a Christmas film, but I'm kind of like it's good to sort of add that in as part of it as well, because obviously you think of Christmas, you normally think of like family and getting together anyway, so that's kind of like brings that even more so.
I'm glad that you first of all appreciate what women have to go through. It's really rare that guys can say that, so I'm grateful that you notice it and you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really strong point for me that you've kind of, I think even like with Barbie and stuff like that, it is becoming more prominent to guys. Like we do have a tough ride. Like
I know for me I really liked that film anyway. That was really good. Obviously that's it works in a different way because it's obviously more comedic in the tone and everything like that. Whereas this is more grounded and relatable to everyday life almost in the sense of we all have families. We may have siblings that we bicker with, but we still love them and all that kind of stuff. And we all hopefully have someone we find to love and everything like that. And however life goes with generally works out, and you can find someone or not. I don't know. Depends on the story, how you want to play the story.
Well,
the story goes, but
I think that's what I liked at the end. It was a little bit like
ambiguous in a sense.
Have I just been watching a whole entire book that's been written about the author, and actually now what is the ending for her?
Is some of it embellished?
Yeah, is some of it actually the ending is not the ending? Like she made it seem apparent that she wasn't going to marry. Like I feel like she isn't
adamant that she wasn't, but people can say that all the time, can't they? Oh, I'll never marry, and then they find the right person, and that changes everything. You just don't know, do you?
No, you don't. Well, I'm glad that you gave 9.5. I feel like that's one of the highest birthday specials number. I feel like if we dug that out for mine.
So I think so, yeah.
So I'm dead chuffed. So thanks, Patreons. Thanks for the help. Even though this has been several times on my list, hasn't it? The birthday specials, like it hasn't.
Yeah. Not but something else has come up or whatever,
And I think actually I've been really quite diverse this year with what I've picked. Like, okay, there's definitely a rom-com always put in there, but I wouldn't class this as a rom-com. I'd class this more like a drama.
Drama, I would as well, yeah.
And then obviously Hercules being Disney or animated or whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's animation.
Yeah.
It just happens to be made by Disney, yeah.
And there's some romance in there too, but...
Love makes the world go round, I think.
Love is all you need, Paul.
So, thank you very much for listening to this episode.
This long
episode, yes. If you want to edit. Hope you've enjoyed the picks we've brought to you this birthday special.
I have.
I'm glad. And I've enjoyed all of them in their own way. So if you'd like to check out some of our other birthday specials or any other episodes, of course, you can head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get podcasts from to check those out. Got a fair few now. And we'd also appreciate any 5-star reviews over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, and wherever else you do the scoring system, because that helps get us circulating in the algorithm, as it were.
And if you want to follow us on the socials, then please come join our family. So we are on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter. and you can find us under the handle SP_filmviewers. Definitely want to say a huge thank you to the patrons and everyone else who has voted for my birthday special. I think we had like 2 ties and then finally a final result on SP, won't we?
Yep.
But really grateful for everyone picking the last film. I feel like this made the birthday special.
So we'd like to shout out the patrons, of course, for assisting or trying to assist with getting rid of it.
It just made him have too much of a good choice.
It wasn't a clear winner. So we're going to read those people out now. And we have Nico from the Good, the Bad and the Weird podcast, Ben from Push Pull Health, formerly Film Vloggers, and Mark from 100 Things We Learned from Film.
We also then have Gren, who's on Instagram under the handle cgren_draw, Emma and Jonesy, who are also on Instagram under the handle Weight Loss Jonesy, and M_Hayton.
And then we have Alex and Shani, who are both on Instagram under the handles Desperately Seeking Username and SDOG.
And last but not least, my mum.
So, thank you everybody for doing that once again. And if you'd like to have your name shouted out every single episode and have the opportunity to vote for a movie once a month, which would be maybe critical come October time.
Why is it critical, Paul?
Well, just to even the odds on. Which meant obviously.
I'm not part of SP in October.
Then all you need to do is go to patreon.com/SP Filmviewers and donate as little as £1 or $1.50 a month to have those perks. Be very much appreciated, of course.
I feel like it's a good time to join actually, because you have got Halloween and then you've got Christmas.
Yeah,
so if you're a big fan of Halloween, then you get to vote, and if you're a big fan of Christmas, you get to vote. Because let's be honest, you're not one or the other, are you? You can't love Christmas and Halloween.
Of course you can.
You're going to have to love one more than the other, is what I'm saying.
There's no law against...
No, but I mean, there's a genre, like, you're going to prefer one stronger than the other.
I don't know. Maybe it's
well, you do. You prefer your horror over Christmas films any day.
Oh, I thought you meant just meaning the holiday itself.
No, the films.
Oh, well, yeah. Sorry, I was just confused.
It's okay.
So, thank you very much for listening once again.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll speak to you next time.
Happy birthday to me.
Birthday to you.
Birthday to me.
Birthday to you.
Speak to you next time.
Bye.
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 Bye.